We have $982,000. Can we retire? Hi, I'm Jonathan Bednar, certified financial planner, co-owner of Paradigm Wealth Partners. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to walk you through a case study for an actual client who we are doing financial planning for. And their big question is, can we retire? They're tired of working. They're ready to move to this next phase of their life. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through their financial plan, their case study, so you can see what it looks like for them to retire. All right, as this comes up, you can see that David and Lisa Jones have a net worth of about $1.4 million. They have $982,000 in investment. So about $460,000 or so is in their primary residence. They don't owe any mortgage. They don't owe anything on cars, on credit cards or anything. They're completely debt-free. Dave Ramsey would be proud of that. And that leaves them about $982,000 left. So I'm gonna walk through some key facts so you can kind of see what this looks like on the back end. And then we'll go into the decision center to see what retirement looks like for David and Lisa. All right, so David and Lisa, both 61, a couple months apart. I have in their base facts, meaning what we originally planned for was for David and Lisa to both retire at 65, and I projected them to live till 95. What we want to do is plan for longevity. It's one of the major risk in retirement. I consider it one of the 5 big risks in retirement, and that is when you have a longer life expectancy. You're living to 90, 95, 100. We have many clients that are living that long. Our objective as financial advisors and certified financial planners is to plan for you to have resources in retirement and in life should you live that long. So we oftentimes are planning for people to live to be 95, 97, 100 years old. Clients often say we're not going to live that long. Maybe, maybe not. Technology is getting better, healthcare is getting better. We plan for it here at Paradigm Wealth Partners. The next thing to look at is financial priorities. So both of these are the same. We said retirement planning, investment management is really important because we want to make sure we have enough to live through retirement. And finally, minimizing taxes if we can. As we go into goals, again, we want to retire comfortably. They're saying that they can live on $48,000. To me, that sounds really low. Just with inflation over the last couple of years, healthcare becomes more expensive, technology becomes more expensive, cars, houses, everything. They're not planning to move, but it just costs a lot of money to live today. But they're living on $48,000 today, and they think they can continue living on that number in the future. So that's what we're planning for. David mentioned that he really wants to take 2 months a year at the beach, get away, rent an Airbnb, and just spend that time there with Lisa, not having to worry about where they are here in East Tennessee. So what I did is accounted for a ballpark of $8,000 a year from 2025 to 2035 as our travel budget. They're simple people. They want to keep it simple, but we do want to plan for that because that's important to David. Net worth. So I'll run through this again. At a high level, this is $982,000 when we exclude their mortgage. So in their savings account, they have $26,000. They have $50,000 in a money market. They have $92,000 in a CD, $47,000 in savings. They have a $360,000 joint account. David has $43,000 in a simple IRA. Lisa has $292,000 in an IRA. $71,000 is in David's Roth. So these are what we're going to use to fund their retirement. And again, the big question is, can we retire? Do we have enough? Am I on track? Those are the things we are looking at. I think another question that maybe a subtle question is, how do I turn my nest egg into a paycheck? That's a big question we get. And again, for David and Lisa, that nest egg is $982,000 to live on for the next 30 years. Income today is $65,000 for David, $9,000 for Lisa. Again, $48,000 is what they're projecting there to be living expenses. They do have a little bit of term life insurance. We're accounting for federal, state taxes and federal taxes and no state taxes because we're in Tennessee. So we have taxes taken into consideration when we're doing this planning. David is currently saving 5% of his salary and has about another 4% from employer match that's being allocated on his behalf. And then we have our investments, we have some insurance protection. So that's going to take us into what we call the decision center. So this is where we can really dive in. We can compare where you are on your base facts, and we can look at that relative to where you want to be long-term. I like to change this from future value down to present value. I think a lot of times it's easier for people to grasp those present value numbers. So you can see today they're right at that $1 million, again, 982. And if they continue like they're doing, retiring at 65 years old, taking $48,000 to year on, the planning software says they have a 100% probability of success, which means they shouldn't run out of money. You can see by evidence of this graph, they're able to take this money out over their lifespan, and it actually continues to grow. And a lot of that's because they're not taking very much money. They're taking $48,000. Most of that is going to be provided by Social Security. And so it's allowing their assets to continue to grow, and they're not having to take very much at all from investments. I'm going to switch over here to the cash flow so you can see what that looks like in their base facts. But $61,000 in expenses are going to get $27,000 in Social Security. So if they continue to work on their current plan and retire at 65, they would need to take out $33,000 a year, roughly for that first year, out of their investments to continue to provide the income that they need. So what I want to do here is I want to go back and show what it looks like if we retire early. So I'm going to toggle all these off so you can see how this looks. So then this is the base facts. I've turned all these off. So this looks the same as it did a moment ago. But I'm gonna start toggling on a few of these other options so that you can see how we account for these and how this impacts their retirement. So the first thing that I'm gonna turn on is their retirement assumptions. I have changed this to retire at 62 and 62. So we're gonna retire immediately, essentially. They're both 61 now. We're gonna finish working out the year. We're gonna retire at 62. That gets us to, it's gonna take some of this pressure off. We're gonna lose, we're not gonna take some pressure off. We're gonna lose some of the income that we're making from working. That's gonna have to be replaced by either Social Security and distributions from their 401k and IRAs, those sort of investments, not 401k. So when we turn this on at 62, we lose the income that they were making while they were working. And now we've got to supplement that income from Social Security and distributions or withdrawals from their IRAs, their simple IRAs, their Roths, their investments that they had. So as you can see, right out of the gate, you can see evidence by these blue charts, some of them turn gray, that we have somewhat of a deficit. Now, it appears when we look at this, like there's still plenty of probability of success, like there's still gonna be enough money to last. This does look like a cost, a value loss of about $500,000, $524,000. So it is significant, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that there's an opportunity cost for retiring early. And in this case, retiring 4 years early may cost you $525,000. We also need to turn on health insurance because from 62 to 65, we're gonna have to fund some health insurance premiums because we're not on an employer plan now. So we have to pay some additional health costs until we can get to be 65 and on Medicare. So I added another $6,000 a year each, roughly $12,000 for the year for both of them as a family to spend for the next 3 or 4 years while they're retired, but not on Medicare. So when we factor those in, and we go over here and we talk on the Monte Carlo to see what is that probability of success, we're still at 100%. So over here on this other screen, even though the value sank by $600,000 when we turn on retiring at 62 and additional healthcare expenses, when we look at this Monte Carlo, it says that, we should still be okay. They have no dependents, they have no kids, they have no debt, simple lifestyle, not a lot of money they want or need to fund their life. And so far, so good. The other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna turn on Social Security at 62. If we're not gonna wait till 65, we don't have those other dependents, we might as well go ahead and turn on Social Security at 62. We could leave it off. It's probably a wash either way. In their case, they don't wanna have to deplete their assets as quickly on the front end, so they wanna go ahead and turn on 62 for Social Security and start collecting that. Even if they don't spend it all, they'll be able to rat hole it and potentially use it later. So they're gonna turn on Social Security at 62. So what I did was I'm starting to say, David, Lisa, everything's checking the boxes so far at a pretty high level. We still have 100% probability of success. We could probably spend more money. If we have a very high likelihood of not running out of money, in this case, 100% probability of success, that tells me that there's more to life you can live. Maybe that's 3 months at the beach. Maybe that's another new car that you weren't planning for. Maybe it's, an Alaskan cruise. I don't know, but maybe I should have some conversations about challenging you on it's okay to spend more. It's okay to do a little bit more, live a little bit more because you have positioned yourselves, you've saved well, You don't live an extravagant lifestyle. And I think you're on track for, according to this, retiring at 62 versus 65. When I toggle on their living expenses, I went up and I said, okay, if we spend $60,000 a year instead of 48, plus we're spending another $12,000 a year, you can see the $60,000 in retirement versus 48. Plus we're spending an additional $12,000 a year for health insurance for the next 3 years until we can get on Medicare. And then on top of that, we're still doing that beach trip for 2 months. You can see that they still look like they're in pretty good shape. There's, the Monte Carlo shows a 90, which tells me that we're still looking pretty good. Now, I will say, even though the Monte Carlo says a 90, it is depleting pretty fast. And when I go over here to their cash flow, their lifetime portfolio value, you can see if they live past 94 or 95, at 95, they've got $9,900 left, $9,900, actually $9,859 is what's left. So if either one of them live past 95, they're out of money. They're gonna live on Social Security alone. That's all they'll have. They could have their house as an asset to sell, but they won't have any other assets other than that. So they run a risk there. You can see that trend line is going down, but when we look at the Monte Carlo, it's giving us a 90% probability of success. If I changed their longevity assumptions to 97 or 100, you would see this fail, and you would see it come in at probably 40, 50, 30% probability of success. So they are actually hitting this almost dead on. If they pass away, at 95 or sooner, they should be fine. A lot of people talk about when they retire, they don't care about leaving money to family and friends. Ideally, they would spend their last dollar on their last day of life. In this situation, by this graph, that's pretty close to where we are. So it is certainly doable. For me personally, I would not feel comfortable seeing this graph drop as steadily as it's dropping, but it does appear like they can make it. All in all, I think the boxes are checked for David and Lisa to retire. Now, here's some things to consider to maybe beef this up a little bit so that they're not taking on maybe as much pressure. So let's look and see and say, okay, David and Lisa, what if we don't retire at 62, but what if we retire at 63? If we give ourselves one more year, how does that look for our financial plan? So as I go in here and update that, you see that, at 95, instead of having $9,985 left, now they have $200,000 left. So it's a pretty significant spin down of their assets, but that still leaves $200,000 left at 95, assuming they live that long. The other thing is, if they truly, only take, let's say they don't spend 60,000, let's just compromise and say they're spending 55,000. I'm gonna go in here and plug and show you what that looks like for David and Lisa. So if we change that to 55,000 instead of 60 in retirement, let it load and do its thing. Now we're back to a probability of success of 100. Again, I don't want clients to hit 100% probability of success. To me, that tells me that we're not doing enough, we're not enjoying our money. Should we give it to charity? Should we pass it down to loved ones if you have kids? Should we help, children, grandchildren? Should we just spend more and travel more and enjoy more? My belief is time is our biggest asset. And I hope this was helpful for you to see kind of a real life scenario of someone who's kind of said, I'm done with work. I'm ready to move on to this next chapter. I'm ready to do the things that I want to do in retirement. And in this case, David made it clear that he wants to spend 2 months a year at the beach. And so I think that that is possible. I think they can retire and start to enjoy that next phase of life. And so my challenge to them is start thinking about getting mentally prepared about how do you unwind from your employer? How do you start to say, give yourself that deadline and say, by December 1st or March 3rd or whatever that number is, however it works for you, or David and Lisa in this case, start preparing yourself mentally for that retirement date. Earmark it in your head so that you can start planning for that and that you can start actually making retirement become an actual realistic accomplishment. So again, hopefully this is helpful to see these real scenarios for clients and how these decisions can be made. If you have questions about this or you want to know if you can retire or if you're on track, reach out to us. We're happy to help you. info@paradigmwp.com is the best way to reach us. Be confident in your retirement. Have a wonderful day.